I was born in Lambertville, New Jersey, some 85 years ago. I was born and raised there. It was a neighborhood that you could intermingle with so many people, especially kids from my age that were surrounding our home there. So it was a great childhood to have been born and raised in those years. My father became a businessman and started a garage, and then when he died in 1966, my brother and I took over the business. Having worked with my father, he was my advisor, not by what he said, because he said very little, but it was what he did in his life, through his life, that impressed me. My name is Robert Heath Sr. as opposed to Robert Heath Jr., who's also in the community. And most of the people that I am involved with call me Pop-Up.
Hard to describe in one word, Pop-Up, but I'd say obviously love is the key. It's the top of the list.
Passionate, without a doubt. For him to be able to do this long, film hundreds and hundreds of events throughout the years. You don't do it unless you're driven and you're passionate.
Honor or honorable and integrity. There are not too many people that can have that in parentheses next to their name.
I think you realize how much he means to me. He really does. And like I say, I feel that he feels the same way.
My grandfather built this house in the late 1800s, and we've kept it in the family all these years. This was my home, and my father lived here before me. Having this home and being able to keep this home is important to us as a family, because it's not only my heritage, but my father's heritage before me. We lived as a community on this street. My friend, the closest friend I had, was Bob Shoemaker, lived 3 doors from me, and we spent a lot of time together. Our school was just across the street. In the summertime, in the fall, and the spring, we were always outside playing. We played baseball and a little football and whatever you could do. Just being together as a community of people was a great thing back in the 30s. In those days, small grocery stores were practically on every block. We call them a mom and pop stores today, but there were many in this community. All of these were small grocery stores that serviced the local people. So we were all kind of bound together by the facilities that were around us. So it was a great time to live. We knew everybody that lived in every house within blocks of you, jumping fences and just enjoying life in the most simplistic way that there is to live it. My mother's family lived just 6 miles away on a farm which they had started back in the 20s. I did a film called The Higgins Legacy. I went out and shot the farm. My mother narrated that.
William Quick Higgins was born May 5th, 1874.
I asked her to recall those days, what it was like in those days to have lived there. And she did a wonderful job of trying to give us a sense of what it was like to live in those days and the life that they lived on that farm.
Milking is done both morning and night, and the milk is picked up each day.
They worked hard. Never owned a tractor, plowed the fields with horses, always had 2 teams of horses, 30 cattle, and milked every day. One day a year, he had a vacation. He went to the Flemington Fair, and that was the extent of their vacation. At Christmas, when the gifts were given, it consisted of an apple and orange and 1 small gift. I needed to preserve those memories for the next generation. So that's one of the most, if not the most, precious film that I've ever done, mainly because of my mother being part of that. One of the things I learned from my father is this element of serving others and the satisfaction that comes from doing that. Having worked with my father on the corner in a very heavily trafficked area was a place where God had put him to serve other people. And when he died, I was put in his chair so that I in turn could do the same. And so the service element of transferring whatever abilities or talents or service you might be able to help others with, that was the place to do it.
The greatest influences that Dad or Pop-Up have had with me would be just his knowledge base. He gained information and wisdom from his father, and I gain a lot of wisdom and information from him. I couldn't do this without him. It's how you treat your customers, it's how you interact with people, it's how you treat your people that work for you. You know, they're not employees, they're family.
He means like a father figure to me. He's always been Pop to me. I've always called him Pop ever since I've worked here. And he's always treated me like a son, and I've always treated him like a father.
He's a very special and unique person. I've learned a lot how to run a business and put the customers first and take the time to speak with them and see what their needs are and make it more personal than just working at a business and not knowing anybody.
There are just so many times throughout my career that I could have had a problem. I need a tow, or I need a jump, or whatever it is. They've always responded quickly and promptly. I was somewhere and I broke down and I needed a tow, but I was stuck and I had no idea who to call. Your grandfather came and it was just such a relief. At least we got the thing back to safety and took it to Heath's, and they figured out what the problem was. They were always there for me.
Anytime there's ever a problem, you just drive your car over and walk away, and a couple hours later it's fixed. You don't ask any questions, you just say, whatever's wrong with it, fix it. They always do. It's just nice to have people you can depend on to do the right job and to take good care of you as neighbors.
I don't think that I could select anyone above your grandfather as far as a quality human being, integrity, honesty, reliability. I could go on and on.
You know, he's always taught me if you do your job right, you do as best you can, you know, you always be fair, and your work will come back to you. If you treat people with respect and as you would like to be treated, the people come back and want your services again and want to work with you.
He always had a positive outlook, always.
He even seems to love towing cars.
The community supporting your grandfather was not necessarily because he had a business. Sure, he would walk out of the pumps and see a lot of people, but it's what he did with those relationships. He has probably a 50-year run at being involved in kids' sports. You know, what happens is when your kids graduate from high school, that's sort of the end of it. That never changed. Young people in the community know your grandfather because he was videotaping their games and he had no direct connection with them. They weren't family, they were just kids. So your father always had that personality and that drive to, if you will, serve others.
Bob's impact has always been to do for others in many ways. These 2 women's car broke down, and he invited them for dinner and to stay overnight. But it was not unusual for Bob to do that. You know, if he could help somebody in that way, he would do it. You know, and he would go anytime, day or night, to help someone. And without question. You know, it was never any question or problem. It was just, he would do it.
He thought about maybe possibly going into the ministry one day, and he's never questioned that, but he always felt he could do more good on that corner, reaching people, than he could in a pulpit.
His life is about giving to others, and as Christ's life was to be a servant, that was definitely the model that Pop-Up used, to be a servant of others, to help people, to be available to. And so I think our whole life was modeled and structured around helping others in whatever capacity.
And one of the ways in which you can give back to the community all the things that they have given us, especially in the education of our children, is to be able to provide a service for them. And the Lord has given me enough talent to push the button on a camera and record the memories and make a record of those activities that young people have done.
One of my first memories of Pop-Up was him being on the sidelines, asking to take pictures if I minded if he took pictures of the girls while they were playing. No, I don't mind, that would be great. And pictures turned into videos, and videos turned into small editing videos that girls could use to go to apply for colleges. I have one of our very first from 1994, and it's very special. It's just he put a compilation together of all of our games throughout the season, highlights. He helped to make our team a real special unit.
I think I had like 35 DVDs, and didn't know, initially where they came from. And then it was pretty cool to see that someone has done that for us. It was pretty special. When we receive the videos and look at all the memories that he's captured of all of our players, and that's something these young men will cherish the rest of their lives, like knowing that, he was able to capture some great moments in our program's history.
All of my childhood sports memories I have videos of because of him. One of my favorite videos that he made was a DVD I have called Eric the Great, which is a compilation of all of my my pole vault videos from high school. And it's set to music, and it's one of my favorite things.
He could have just given us the straight footage. He took the time to edit it and add music.
Pop-Up is there for every child in the community. He's there at every game. He films every game.
And that just captures a focus on other people, right? That's one of the first things. It's not, true spiritual life is not about me. It's about, putting others before yourself. And he's done that in all the years I've known him.
Most of my friends just say, who videotaped that? I don't even know. And I say, Pop-Up. And they say, I love the video. Thank you.
He's there to cheer every child on that field, on that court, no matter who it is.
My sons are a different Little League team than his grandkids, but they compete with each other. I'll say I was most surprised when I got that DVD in the mail for my kids' baseball game, because the home team, of course, is the New Hope team, not my Ringo's New Jersey team. But he made copies for the whole team. All right, so I was surprised, and I know the man. The other players on our team, they were just amazed that somebody who wasn't from their team would take the time to make that for them. Man, I bet you that kind of experience is repeated hundreds, thousands of times a year, because I know he just wants to share these things with others. And doesn't want thank you cards, doesn't want his name on anything. He is very dedicated to serving others.
Season ended, and we were invited to his home for an end-of-year hockey party. To be invited to his home with his wife and to have them put out a spread of food for us. It was such a selfless thing to do, and I really see Pop-Up as such a selfless human being who gives so much. And that was kind of that was a springboard into having team dinners before big games, or having, you know, an end of year party at somebody's home. You know, parents would open up their homes. He was the first. He started a beautiful tradition.
Whenever we get those videos at the end of the season at our banquet, it's just such a good feeling, because you know you'll have that for the rest of your life, and you know that the season, even though the season's over, like, you'll still have those memories to hold on to.
At the present time, I'm doing about 2,000 videos a year. It's rewarding in a sense to know that God has given you the capability of doing those things. He gives me the strength to do it at my age. That's a miracle in itself.
It would be fantastic if every school district had someone like this, who even after his own kids are done, stays involved.
The community has always accepted Pop-Up, and because he's so giving, he doesn't charge for the DVDs, he hands them out. He's so giving. He's everyone's Pop-Up. He's not just ours.
In the recording of sporting activities, it's simply a record of the achievements that they have made in their lifetime at a given time that I believe will encourage them to go on to better things. It also records the difficult times in sports where the losses are so painful and the wins are so jubilant. So I have, even after my children have grown, I still encourage those families to keep their children in athletics to learn those valuable lessons.
But it's just so much more than a videotape. He got into actually videoing individual kids. They had something to take with them on interviews when they were going to college, different college campuses, going to play for coaches, and he would focus on that child. So for kids to know that somebody took that level of interest and that amount of time and that dedication and commitment, it teaches far beyond anything we can teach in, inside a classroom, or any practice that I could put together with different skill sets. It's about being a human being and really what it means to be human and to have integrity and to give. And Pop-Up is a giver, and he has given to so many of us over the years. Amazing man.
We think back so many years. We think too of Ned Guest's family today. We lost a Legionnaire this year.
Well, as far as the Legion goes, he's the post chaplain. There's a lot of members in their 80s now. Every year you're gonna lose some members. Last year we lost 7 members. American Legion has a ceremony, and the chaplain and the commander are involved at the funeral home. Bob always does a great job because he takes a lot of interest. He looks into what the fellow veteran did and always has very nice things to say.
With peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Amen. I presently happen to be a Gideon. A Gideon is someone who accepts the responsibility of spreading the Word of God. One of the activities of the Gideon organization has to do with jail ministries and taking the Word of God into the jails. Most of them have tried many things in life, and now some of them would like to try God. And so they come to try to get an understanding of how to live their lives differently than they had lived before. And I fell in love with these guys because of the difficulty in their lives that they had gone through, and the willingness to try something different, not knowing anything about the Bible, not knowing, just knowing that there possibly was a God and that they could find God. And so I've spent the last 45 years in an attempt to encourage them to find God through the reading of the scriptures and through the understanding that they gain from that, and thereby giving their lives to Christ that they might find another way to live their lives than they have lived.
For the past 45 years, Robert Heath of Gideon's International has been volunteering at Mountain View Youth Correctional Facility as a Bible study leader. His consistency, dedication, and commitment all stem from the belief that his efforts have and will continue to make a difference in the lives of the inmate population.
Eternity will bear out whether those 45 years were productive. I've seen men whom I've had in class for many years, a few years later come back to jail in irons. One of the most painful experiences of my life is to see a young man who once left the jail with the opportunity to change his life, only to have fallen again and come back into jail. And so I just continually try to make that available to them so that they in turn, their lives can be different. I have seen prisoners make a dramatic change in their lifestyle once they were out. One of which became a Gideon once he was out of jail. Started a business and was part of our organization.
I'm here tonight as a result of your volunteerism. Thank you for allowing me.
He's been doing prison ministry for more than 30 years, almost 40 years, and every week he goes there and he has such a strong commitment to his faith and to the people he loves and to people he doesn't even know.
20 years ago, he came to us and he said, can you help? We were purchasing Christmas gifts for incarcerated people so that their kids get something. And I thought to myself, wow, that's terrific. Your grandfather very quietly would help people who were in serious trouble. He didn't ask for any recognition. He didn't ask for any help. He just did it.
He loves to do things under the radar and let things happen and not even allow people to realize he's done so many things for people.
He's so humble.
He's just a very giving man, and he doesn't ask for anything in return, and he just doesn't expect anything from anyone. He just gives and gives to everyone.
He's so warm and open and selfless. He expects nothing, and he wants nothing. He doesn't want recognition. It's like the worst thing in the world for him.
Please join us in congratulating the 2017 Mountain View Youth Correctional Facility Volunteer of the Year awardee, Robert Heath Sr.
But on an everyday basis, he does just kind little small things for people, and I think that that's what helps the world go round better, is when we all do small good things for one another.
I would catch him helping people. Sometimes he didn't have the money to help the people. And he would say, well, we'll make it work out. It's who he was, who he is today. He still does it.
So one time I went to get gas and I was talking to Pop-Up Heath, and a person he didn't even know came and her car had broken down, so she was leaving it at the garage, and he lent her his car for the day because he knew she had to get to work, and she couldn't believe it because he didn't even know her, and he said, I know you're going to bring this back and you need to get to work, so you can use my car for the day.
He embodies the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. He really puts others first. How caring he is just a really shining example of what we should all aspire to be like.
Dad's always kind of been like my moral compass, that if, trying to make a hard decision, if I followed, just think of what Pop-Up would do. What would Dad do? You're going to get the right answer. You're going to do the right thing. And if anybody ever has a question on, going through some tough times or whatever, just think what my mom or Pop-Up would do. And I guarantee you'll have the right answer, the right way to go about something, the right thing to do.
He's good, man. He's a good person. You just gotta follow him. Be like him. His wisdom.
He's taught me that you have to accept everyone for who they are just because you don't know the situation that they've come from, and that you have to have respect for them. because he respects every single person that he meets.
I want my children to take away that they've learned from Pop-Up is to love and to give. And to treat everyone like you would want to be treated. It's so simple.
He's a superstar when it comes to community service. He's the best. He's at the epitome. No one can match his record. No one. We do a lot of community service here, but we don't do half of what he's done in his life. So he's at the very top there.
You know, I think the impact he's had on people through my entire life has been just outstanding.
I love Pop-Up. Papa brings me toys. I love Pop-Up. He gives me hugs and kisses.
His unconditional love has always been a factor.
Kindness, faithfulness, honesty, and and a genuine caring for me and other members of the family.
Wherever he goes, whoever he meets, no matter who they are, what they look like, where they're from, he's always welcoming them with open arms and wants to get to know their story and who they are.
Pop-Up and I will strike up a conversation because he genuinely asks how you're doing because he actually wants to know instead of just small talk. And we'll get into whatever the conversation might be. It always ends up in a laugh and the Pop-Up chuckle and the quick elbow to the ribs type thing, and that guy's strong as an ox, so even though he hits you, you're like, oh, that totally actually hurt.
No matter what choices you make, no matter what successes you have or failures you have, that the kids know that there's someone that loves them, that someone will accept them, someone will be there for them no matter what.
He always forgives us.
He loves everybody. His love never changes. Never changes.
Just constantly, consistently loving.
Pop-Up's he's always been there for anybody, no matter what the circumstances.
He's good to everybody. He really is. And everybody knows that.
He is such a kind and gentle person. He's so loving.
Whenever he walks into a room, he can just instantly make the mood happier.
It's just always good to see him. He's always in a good mood and even keel.
He's been a very faithful friend, very caring. He would be here in a heartbeat if I needed him. I know that.
He's just a happy person. He's a gentle giant, and we're just really lucky to have him.
You know, he's just a good person, and he's a family man, and his whole life is dedicated to his family.
We've been tremendously blessed that my children have had the amount of time that they have had with him.
It makes me feel loved and that I'm not left out.
Dad was a Boy Scout leader for Troop 34. Looking back now, I can see what an impact he had just on the other Boy Scouts that were involved. There's always that guy in the class or in the group that's a bit awkward. Dad was always the one to bring him in, put his arm around him, make him try to feel like he was one of the gang.
He was the go-to guy, the person that people would confide in, and they knew whatever their problem was, they knew they could discuss it with him, and it would stay right there.
I've been able to confide in him a lot of the things and challenges that have been going on in my life, as I am not able to do with just anyone. He's a sympathetic and a compassionate and a very wise ear to hear the things that are going on in my life.
I could talk to Pop about anything, and Pop gives me wonderful advice.
Every time he came back with a positive outlook to it, compassion, listened to them, felt their pain, and responded accordingly. And that's probably, he's like the Rock.
He's always there for me. I know. All I have to do is pick up the phone and Bob will be there. And he'll, without hesitation, he's always there for me. but he's my rock. He really is.
Pop-Up's very dependable. If I ever need anything, he's there.
When you grow up as a kid, seeing those principles being lived out, they affect you.
To love and respect each other always. That's what they've taught me.
Behind every great man, there's what? There's a great woman.
I would have to say that the most influential person in my life would be my wife. One of Jane's greatest assets was her development of the family. And in that development was the element of forgiveness. Forgiveness regardless of the circumstance. Being able to forgive someone or whatever the circumstance was. To be able to get beyond that. And Jane was able to do that quickly. And I've learned that from her. The forgiveness of each other is terribly important if we want to have peace and tranquility in your life. If we carry that element of revenge, then it literally will destroy you. Welcome to this household. I just happened to live here. Jane lived here once, and there were two of us. And now today, she's with him, and I'm still down here trying to get there.
Those of us who were fortunate enough to be invited to their Advent party could see the relationship they had, especially when they would sing together.
She was a great alto voice. She had a very pure alto voice. And for me, to be able to sing a bit of tenor, not very well, but together we were able to make a joyful noise unto the Lord, they say. And so being able to do that was with her, and as I look back on that, it really is terribly important to me that we had done that, because your life is fuller that way.
I love to see my parents dance. They just enjoyed. It was just time for them to enjoy each other, because life, when you're growing up, is so much about your kids and about, you know, paying the bills and this and that. And when they could sit back and enjoy a few moments of fun without worrying about everything else, that was always a highlight.
Just when Papa would make Mama laugh. I can still hear her laughing.
Or when they would sing together. If Papa didn't change the words on Mama. He often changed the words and Mom would get mad.
They sang to me at my 21st birthday, I think it was.
S is for the
many smiles you give us. A is you're the apple of our eyes. N is for your never-ending love. D is for the diamond in your eyes.
And then they both sang at our wedding. And that was pretty special.
My mom and I were very close for a long time. Yep. Sorry, not giving you much information, but it's all in here. Sorry.
It's really good.
I love them both.
She just would envelop you with, you know, with her hugs, and so the two of them were just such loving people. You feel so comforted in their arms.
You always saw love between them, regardless of what was happening within the family. Whether it was good times in the family, bad times in the family, you always saw the love that was between them, and you always saw that they stuck together to get through something.
I don't think there are many mysteries in my life that I have had to try to unravel, and I can think of only one, how I ever married a girl that was as gentle, kind, and loving as Jane was. I don't know how she ever came into my life. In my day, the boys from Lambertville married girls from New Hope. The boys in New Hope married girls from Lambertville. The one question would be, Jane, how did we ever get married? What was it that caused that to be?
I think she just realized that he was a gift. It's like a puzzle. You fit together. Neither one is complete without the other. So they were a good match.
So you want to talk about a match made in heaven. They were it. They're not perfect. They fought sometimes. I was there to witness it. But the thing that kept bringing them back together was the forgiveness that they had and knew towards each other.
Dad, you've been always there and always supportive, even in the things that were hard. But so I thank you for your faithfulness and your consistency and just the steady faith that you live out day to day. As much as we are all different and all take a different path, but you've shown us that family's important and that it's important to do the right thing even when it's hard. So I just thank you for that, and thank you for the example that you set for our family.
The most difficult time in my years were the years when the government called me and sent me to a foreign land that I knew not anything of. Even trying to understand why you were there. In Korea, the mountains were high, it was cold. You couldn't always determine who your friends were and who they weren't. When they put us on the front, we had the Marines on our left and another Army unit on our right, and we were able to withhold the ground that we had taken. And it's a day-to-day struggle, sometimes an hour-to-hour struggle. And when you lose men around you, you know that there's a bitter struggle as to whether or not you're going to survive it. But I was fortunate, and I came home. I vowed that when I came back that I would go to school. The government offered a program whereby I could go to school. I did that for a reason. I did that because I could not understand how my father could work so hard, earn so little, and love every minute of it. So for 13 years I went to night school in Rider College and graduated in the 60s. Immediately thereafter my father died, and someone had to run the business.
Unfortunately, my grandfather passed away at a very early age, which forced Pop-Up to take over the business at a very difficult time.
My brother and I decided he would take the garage and I would manage the service station. I finally realized that my father, it wasn't all about earning an income. It was more about serving other people. And being in a service business such as the service station, he was able to serve people, not necessarily with automotive problems, but with all kinds of issues in their lives. And I didn't learn that until he died, because I sat in his seat and I realized what he was about. And I learned a great deal from that. And I've tried to spend the rest of my life serving others.
I know his father would be extremely happy and proud of the way he's molded his life over the years and how he's impacted the community.
If there were more men like Pop-Up in this world, I mean, if there was a lot more men like Pop-Up in this world, there wouldn't be war, there wouldn't be. There'd be a lot more love.
He gives so much to the community and wants nothing in return, and it's just, you don't see that often.
When you take someone who exudes all of the qualities that we all aspire to have, it just can't help but rub off, bounce off, and improve so many other residents within your community.
That's a lesson that Pop-Up has taught us all, to always give back to the community or to others in any way that you can.
People respond in such a positive light to that they're always looking of ways to want to do better and give back because of the example that he set.
Mr. Heath has always led by example. He's like the perfect citizen. So, yeah, we should all be so lucky to have every community in small town America.
Well, there's just one Pop-Up Heath, but when you have someone like him in a community, that brings out the goodness of others.
When I think of Pop-Up, I think of a role model.
I kind of look up to Bob. He's such a good person.
He became a role model because of what he did and continues to do.
Even long past his time on this earth, he will leave an example for all of us to follow.
He will be a legend.
It's just such an amazing example on how everyone should live their life.
Pop-Up always had a smile and always had a, hey honey, and a hug for me.
I see that smile on his face, I hear his voice, and like I said, I feel that hug. Whenever I think about him, I feel that hug.
You know, just his smile alone, just his kindness, what he does for the school, what he does for the community. His work has brought together many people from many different facets, and that can really help our communities.
When things happen to people, this community pulls together in such a beautiful way, and Pop-Up is always at the center of that. Any community could benefit from that degree of kindness and integrity and humanity.
I don't know if there's enough words to describe how special he is.
He's an amazing guy, and he's permanently a fixture in this community, and he'll be loved by all. I mean, he's got to be loved by all. He's a great guy.
You have to love him, and you have to be the way he is. There's no other way to be.
He's so many things to so many different people.
Every time anyone's ever asked me about Pop-Up, I just say he's my hero.
He's one in a million. You're not going to find many like him, ever.
He's just one of the best people I've ever met. He's awesome.
He's the man behind the camera.
Hi, my name is Bucky Heath, and I'm the grandson of Pop-Up Heath. Over the last year and a half, we've been working really hard on this documentary. This film could not have been possible without the love and support of the communities of both Lambertville and New Hope. So from my family to yours, thank you. We hope this film inspires others to give back to their local communities. An easy way to give back to your local community is by writing checks to the Pop-Up Heath Scholarship Fund. The Pop-Up Heath Scholarship Fund is given every year to 2 student athletes at the New Hope Solebury High School to further their education. You can send checks to 6160 Upper Mountain Road, New Hope, Pennsylvania, 18938. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Oh, I've been wondering what you would look like if you could be here today. Would you smile in that pretty voice? Still make all the boys wanna be in my place? Would you laugh at all my jokes? Let me hide under your coat and let me know it's all okay.